Switcher Shrimp's been designed around ultimate rigging versatility. It's a super natural, lifelike looking shrimp made out of durable TPE material that can be rigged forwards and backwards. We've designed this in a range of sizes to cover everything from brim, snapper, flathead, barra, dewies in the estuaries, pretty much any species you can think of that eats a prawn, the Switcher Shrimp is going to catch it. The rigging versatility is what this is all about. So I want to run you through the different ways to rig this. Forwards, backwards, you can use a jig head, you can use a weedless hook, you can use a weighted EWG hook. The really cool thing about this is that if you rig it forwards, you can do a slow roll, sits perfectly level, you can rig it backwards, and you get this really cool sort of backwards flicking tail action that just looks great underwater. So we're going to go through the number of different ways to rig this, show you all of the options, and give the rundown on how to get the most out of the Switcher Shrimp. Okay, so the standard method with a prawn is just the jig head rig and rigging it what we'd call forwards. So the cool thing with the Switcher Shrimp is it's been made with a belly cavity. So you can see in here the belly section has actually been hollowed out, and we've got a hole through the belly cavity here. So you can probably just see that hole going through the body. So because it's a TPE body, you have to put the hole in there to start with. It just makes it a lot easier to poke the head or the eyelet of the jig head through. Now the other thing that we've done here with the Switcher Shrimp is we've put a bunch of rigging channels into the head. So what we've got going on here is actually 3 holes on the top of the head. So there's 1, 2, 3 holes down there that you can see going through the head. Those holes are designed so that the eyelet of the jig head can actually poke up through them. A lot of shrimps have a design where they look great, look natural, but this little bit at the front really gets in the way when you're trying to rig it on a jig head. So what we've done is come up with a system where the eyelet of the jig head actually pokes up through those holes. So the way I rig this to start with is I line it up and get an idea, get the right size jig head, and I get an idea on where I want to put the hook. So that's basically got the shank of the hook coming out through the little hole in the tail there. Now, the other cool thing with this is that you can rig it so that that hook is either really pronounced and poking up quite high, or you can rig it through the body so that that hook is down quite low and it's a really weedless presentation. Now, the nice thing about the Switcher Shrimp is that even with that weedless presentation, this hollow part of the body means that it's weedless, but you get a great hook up. As soon as the fish come and grab onto it, you get a really good hook up, even with that hook lower down in the body and a little bit more weedless. Now, I'm gonna rig it with the hook a little bit more exposed. So what I would normally do is line it up. I actually just put the hook straight through the groove there and actually put it downwards to start with. You can see there, and then I literally just flip it over. Now, what I'm doing there is lining up this hole so that the hole in the top of the body, you can see it's quite easy to just put that straight through there. Now what you can do at the front is you literally just spin this around and get it all lined up so it's nice and straight. And then I put the jig head through one of the holes, just find that hole, pull it through there. So as you can see there, I've now been able to rig this in a way where it looks incredibly natural. Just pull the little tentacles out there, make him look nice and natural. So what I've got there is something that I think looks really, really natural. You've got an exposed hook point, you've got the eyelet of the jig head up here that you can tie your knot through. Now the really cool part about this is that you can tie the knot through here and it holds the prawn on the jig head. So fish come and grab this and try and pull it backwards. You've obviously got the jig head with the hook keeper helping, but because you're actually threading this on and you're tying your line through that eyelet, you can see that eyelet there, the plastic actually can't come off, I mean, unless it gets completely destroyed, but obviously this TPE material is super durable, super tough. And so that's your forwards rigged shrimp. So this is fantastic for, you can rig this anything from brim to barra in all the different sizes. You can slow roll it. The cool thing about this is that it tracks perfectly straight. So you can do that shrimp slow roll, and it just tracks perfectly straight underwater. You can give it a couple little flicks. The tail's got a lot of movement in it because it's all segmented and very durable. So that's rigging method number one. So the second way to rig the switcher shrimp is with a weighted worm hook or an EWG hook. Now, really easy to rig. What I like to do here is just match up the eyelet of the hook with the hole in the nose that I want to go through. So you can see there, I've just put that through the nose, and I like to do that first. And what this stops is you having to drag the weights. You know, normally you'd have to put the hook through, drag all the weights through. You don't have to worry about that. So what I've got there now is the ability to find the right spot in the body to just put the hook through the body, and it's really thin down here, so it's super easy to get it perfectly centered. And you can tell that you've got it centered because we've got the little slot on top here, so you can see that the hook's perfectly centered. So the reason for that is that it'll stop the prawn from like rolling over sideways when you're twitching it. If you rig it off center, they just don't look as natural. And the idea behind this is obviously make it look as natural as you possibly can. But that is your rigged, weedless, weighted shrimp. Looks super natural. It'll sink pretty much perfectly level. You can slow roll it. You can work it around in cover. You can work it through weed beds. You can do whatever you want to it. And because this section here really doesn't have a lot of meat to it, it gets a really good, really good hook up and an exposed hook point. So that's a great way to rig it. So the two key ways, rigging it forwards, the standard jig head and this weighted worm hook option. So it gives you total versatility. So now we're going to look at how to rig it backwards. All right, so the third main option for the switcher shrimp is rigging it backwards on the weighted worm hooks. All right, so we're putting the eyelet of the hook through the little hole that's already made there. And what you can see is that that eyelet pokes through the back of the body. There's actually a little circular cutout that we've molded into the back of the shrimp where the eyelet of that hook actually lays perfectly flush. The idea with that is that it'll help with making it even more weedless. So, the body of the shrimp's really got to fold down to be able to get caught up. Now all you need to do is you can put the hook point through one of the rigging channels in the nose, or you can just obviously put the hook point through wherever you want, get that centered, and that is your reverse rigged, weedless, weighted shrimp. So because of the position of the weight here, you can tie this on. This will sink pretty much sort of head first, maybe on about a 45-degree angle. And when you twitch it backwards, the tail just flicks backwards and it looks like a real shrimp just kind of flicking backwards. So very lifelike, very realistic, super rigged to fish in any sort of structure or cover. Doesn't matter if it's around snags for barramundi, oyster racks for brim. It's a very, very effective rig and just looks super natural. Okay, so you can also rig the switcher shrimp backwards, but with a standard jig head. So the way to do this is line up the jig head. Now what we've done here is that we've obviously got a recess in the body, and the idea is that you can see that the jig head, I'm just going to kind of show you how that jig head can just sit, essentially the jig head can just sit in there and the eyelet just pokes through like that. So that's the concept that we're going for here. It's really easy to rig. So you can get the jig head to sit up in the belly and it's pretty much completely out of the way. Obviously I'll put that hook through the head in a second, but just really want to show you how that eyelet, it's just super easy to put that through there. Now there's a couple of options here. You can just put this hook straight through the top of the head without even putting the shank of the hook through the body. So what we've got going on here is because we've got a cutaway in the belly, that jig head actually just sits in that cavity. So that's a beautiful, essentially a jig head weedless reverse rig. And obviously what happens there, fish comes and grabs it. The hook point's very easy to get exposed, but that's a super, super effective reverse weedless setup. All right, so the other way I can do this is to get the hook exposed. I've just got to run the hook through the belly there. Just and get that poking out there. So I've got the hook fairly high up in the body. So you actually run it through backwards and then you effectively roll the shrimp over, roll the prawn over on the hook. And we've got the eyelet or the hole here already made in the body. Just got to locate that, there he is. So we've got the hole already made in the body there, and then all I've got to do with the hook is find the little groove in the middle of the head, and there we go. We've got a reverse rigged exposed hook switcher shrimp. So that looks completely natural. The jig head is up inside the belly, so just a very natural looking rig. Again, the tail will flick when you flick it backwards, so that'd be something that I'd fish around a little bit more open structure. But again, what I've found is that the reverse rig is great if you're targeting fish and you know where the fish are hanging. So you're really trying to work a small area because it's going to sink down and you can flick, 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 so you know the fish are there. The forwards rig allows you to cover a little bit more water, you can fish it a little bit quicker, and it allows you to search for the fish a little bit more. So different rigging for different applications, but there's a whole range of ways that you can use this switcher shrimp to pretty much catch every species that eats a shrimp or a prawn. So get into it, have a play around with them. It's a super fun lure to fish. I'm just having so much fun fishing this myself. It's just been really enjoyable. So get out there, get into it, and let us know what you think.